Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Polity PT special series. Polity might rattle your brain, how to deal with such a huge syllabus with respect to current affairs of polity. We have ensured that every topic is covered under this, okay? And I will try to make it as brief as possible because I do not want to, waste your time. I will mention the important ones, how to cover those topics so that you know how to deal with the tricky questions. Minimum time, maximum output is the fundamental right. Let's begin. NIPUN Bharat Mission. NIPUN Bharat Mission, the Ministry of Education has launched NIPUN Bharat Mission, which is an acronym for National Initiative for Proficiency in Reading with Understanding and Numeracy. And it will be implemented by Department of School Education and Literacy. Remember this. This could be a preliminary fact that gets asked in the prelims examination. Okay. And also the objective is to ensure universal acquisition of foundational literacy and numeracy, that is FLN. Okay. By the end of grade 3. Another important fact. And that is the year with respect to this target is 2026, 2027. This could be a tricky question. The year could be replaced by 2025 and 2026, but no, it's 2026 and 2027. The grade limit is class 3, okay? And it aims to cover the learning needs of children in the age group of 3 to 9 years. Brackets are important over here. The range is important to learn for prelims. Launched as a part of National Education Policy in 2020 only. It aims to, the NEP, National Education Policy, wants to make transformational reforms in schools and higher education. We have come across the videos of so many children who are in the public schools and they do not have foundation literacy. We might just think those videos to be humorous, but it is actually the failure of the educational system. Launched under the aegis of centrally sponsored scheme Samagri Shiksha, which has subsumed many schemes such as Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan and teacher education as well. And there has to be a 5-tier implementation. First will be the national, second will be the state, then comes district, block and school level. So 5-tier implementation. Goals are set in the form of Lakshya Suchi, the list of aims or targets for foundational literacy and numeracy. The Lakshya have been developed, these have been developed, the Suchi has been developed. From the Balvatika to grade 3, this is the target. Special emphasis will be on capacity building for teachers. That means when teachers do not have the capacity, how will they achieve them? So, capacity building for teachers will also be there. Special package for foundational literacy and numeracy under Nishtha, okay, which is National Initiative for School Heads and Teachers Holistic Advancement. Around 25 lakh teachers will be trained under this from pre-primary to primary, okay. Important facts were covered. Now let's talk about Student Entrepreneurship Program of 3.0. Atal Innovation Mission in collaboration with the Salt Systems Foundation launched SCP-3. Prelims fact, very important, note it down. The Salt Rafale, have you heard of that? Same company. Program to motivate school students to become future innovators and entrepreneurs. Atal Innovation Mission has been launched by whom? NITI Aayog. Okay. Covered already. Theme is to made in 3D, seed the future entrepreneurs program. 3D printing is real. 3D printing is also known as additive manufacturing. That means to manufacture by adding the layers of the material that is required to make that object. And 50 teams from various states have been selected. The top 20 teams of ATL Marathon 2019, 10 have been selected by the SOL system and 10 from aspirational districts. And 10 from Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh and Northeast, which are underdeveloped and very underserved areas. Each team will have 6 students and a teacher. This might not be asked, but it's good to remember it. Moving on. Now, teams will be allocated using seed funding towards creating pseudo startups. That means mock startup, kind of like you all give mock tests. Similarly, they will design and prototype their innovation using 3D printing or additive manufacturing. Also prepare market campaign, how to market those objects, why to take them. Right now, it is not that affordable, the products of 3D manufacturing. So they have to come up with certain things, certain attractiveness about their products, then only they will market it. They will present their marketing campaign in the form of experts from industry and academia as well. Now, mentoring support will be given, guidance by working as pseudo startups, an opportunity to interact with the French schools and students for cultural and technical interaction, basically to know what is going on in their country, how they have, succeeded in their realm of additive manufacturing. The Atal Innovation Mission is a flagship innovation set up by the NIPUN Aayog in the year 2016. Objective is to promote an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship, the AIM programs, Atal Tinkering Labs, Atal Incubators, and Atal Community Innovation Centers, Atal New India Challenges and Mentor of Change. These are the major programs of Atal Innovation Mission. Okay. Moving on. Ujjwala 2.0 scheme. The Prime Minister has launched the Ujjwala 2.0 from Mahila, Uttar Pradesh on 10th of August 2021, and it was announced in the Union Budget itself of 2021-2022. The nodal ministry for Ujjwala is Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. It could be asked in your prelims examination. Ujjwala comes under the aegis of which of the following ministries? Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Minority, or Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. So, because we are talking about a fuel, so that is why it becomes under Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Provision for an additional, already the corpus was there, but now another thing is additional 1 crore LPG connection. That was already existing, but in addition to that, 1 crore more. And aim is to provide deposit free. There is no need to be a deposit for LPG connection, and that will be given to low income families who are not covered under phase 1. Okay. And first refill and hot plate will be made free to them, of course, to the beneficiaries, of course. Also aims to provide benefits to migrants, the migrant laborers who move from rural to urban areas in search of employment, and enrollment procedure will require minimum paperwork. Paperwork has to be there. Okay. So that the government at least knows how many people have been enrolled. Okay. And migrants will not be required to submit ration cards or address proof. This is a good thing. So you can see that this becomes a preliminary fact, a very tricky preliminary fact. Everything is preliminary fact indeed, because nobody can tell you what to read for prelims. Prelims is very, I must tell you, prelims is extremely suspicious in nature. It can change whenever it wants to. But we have to make sure everything is covered at the same time. We know what is tricky and what is not tricky. If you are regular with your test series, you will be able to understand how the prelims are tricky. Migrants will not be required to submit ration cards or address proof. Self-declaration for both family declaration and as proof of address will suffice. That will be it. Ujjwala 2.0 will help achieve the PM's vision of universal access to LPG, because women who do not have access to LPG, they are dependent on biomass, which is a pollutant, and it actually causes a lot of issues to the lungs of the women and also other health issues as well. So in order to make sure that that does not happen, this is the vision of the Prime Minister. Moving on, Ujjwala 1.0. When was it launched? 2016. Ujjwala 2.0 in 2021 from Mahila, Uttar Pradesh. Target is LPG connection to 5 crore women members of BPL household, and that has been revised to 8 crore. Now this is a prelims fact that could be tricky. Remember this. Women beneficiary from 7 or more categories like SC, ST, PMAY, AAY, most backward classes, tea garden, forest dwellers, islands. These have been included only in the year 2018. Alright, moving on. Now let's talk about Mahila Kisan Sashaktikaran Pariyojana. The government has said that at least 30% of the expenditure that has been located for agriculture scheme have been incurred on women. Rural areas encourages their women to help in the agricultural practices. So that is why the government was of the opinion that women class, the classes of women in rural areas, specifically in agricultural sectors, should be encouraged. And this mainly includes Mahila Kisan Sashaktikaran Pariyojana. This is to bring them into the mainstream agriculture, and it was started in 2012. Not only the manual work but also the entrepreneurial work. It is a sub-component. This scheme is a sub-component. Tricky question for prelims. Okay. Of the Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Rural Livelihood Mission. Remember this very well. Up to 60%, that is 90% for the Northeast. Northeast is the underserved area, that is why the center funds them more. And of course, many of the Northeastern states are special category states. Up to 60% of the funding by the central government, 90% in case of Northeastern states. MKSP recognizes the identity of Mahila as Kisan. It strives to build the capacity of women in the domain of agroecologically sustainable practices. Not only the agricultural practices, but ensure that they are well aware of the fact that agriculture needs to be environmentally sustainable. Groundwater should be saved. Irrigation practices should be made more precise. Also, how to tackle with the use of fertilizers. Excessive fertilizers shouldn't be used. Similarly, the cases with pesticide and insecticide, so all that. Enabling small landholders to adopt sustainable climate-resilient agroecology. Why? Because small landholding practices, small landholders tend to do practices which are not sustainable in nature because they have a small amount of land. They can only have crop intensification, and they tend to do a lot of land pattern, crop pattern changes because they do not have much land to, get their income from. So, what do? They use lots of chemicals, lots of pesticides in order to make sure that they do not do so. This particular scheme will benefit them. NRLM is a century, they all Antyodaya Yojana, of course, is a centrally sponsored scheme. That means the funding is divided between the center and the states. Okay, and it was launched by the Ministry of Rural Development in June 2011, not 12. Okay, so one thing, keep in mind, who launched this particular scheme? It could be asked, it was launched by Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So it's Ministry of Rural Development. This could be a tricky question. The aim is to eliminate rural poverty, not only agriculture, to reach out to all rural poor households and also impact their livelihood. So these two are the major aims of it. Now let's talk about National Organ Transplant Program. What is it? Now under the National Organ Transport Program, a national level tissue bank will be made and Biomaterial Center has been established at NOTO, New Delhi. Okay, NOTO is basically the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. Where is it? In New Delhi, remember that. A regional biomaterial center has been established at ROTO, that is the regional organization in Chennai. Okay, remember that. Remember these two facts. 2 regional biomaterial centers to be set up in Maharashtra and Bihar. Let's talk about National Organ Transplantation Program. It promotes organ donation and transplantation because this is a Nobel lead, and if we have to save somebody's life, we have to make sure that whatever organs we have that are, of course, the nature makes it free of cost for us, but the world does not. So we should make sure that we should try to donate as much as possible if the organs are well preserved. Provides financial grants for establishing rotors, sorters, and developing new and upgrading transplant centers. Okay. Also, not only that, people should be made aware of what are the benefits of it. NOTO in New Delhi is the apex body for the implementation, and 5 regional offices and 14 state organizations have been established so far. India is 3rd in the world in terms of organ donation. Remember that. That is a very important fact. 3rd in the world. WHO Global Observatory on Donation and Transplantation has said that. Law is Transplantation of Human Organs Act of 1994. So if it is asked in the prelims examination, is there any act which is related to this particular transplantation program or NOTP? We have one of 1994. Okay. Now, defense testing infrastructure scheme. This is the next one. India wants to become an Atmanirbhar Bharat in the defense segment. So defense is going to hold a lot of importance in this prelims. From the perspective of science and technology and from the perspective of polity, we have the policies and schemes launched by Defense Ministry in May 2020 to boost domestic defense and aerospace manufacturing. The corpus is 400 crore to create state-of-the-art testing infrastructure in partnership with private industry, and this would run for the duration of 5 years. So what we have to learn? Corpus can be asked here because this is an important scheme. The launch year can be asked 2020 and duration of 5 years. This can be asked. Let's move forward and talk about it. 6 to 8 greenfield defense testing infrastructure facilities will be set up. Along with, we have to know the project funding. 75% of the cost will be grant and aid, and 25 will be special purpose vehicle, which is developed or established when the funding has to be done for a special project. So for that we have special purpose vehicle. Okay, it constitutes Indian private entities and state governments. Both are included. Prelims question could go like, it only includes state governments, or it only includes private entities, but both are included. Okay, now let's talk about Manzil Scheme. What is it? As you see the image, it's an integrated education livelihood initiative for the minority communities, and it was launched in the year 2015. Prelims can ask you about the year of launching. Beneficiaries will be the youth in the age group of 17 to 35 years. So remember this range for 6 notified minority communities, which include Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, and let me write it here, Buddhists, Jains, Christians, then we have Muslims and Parsis and Sikhs. Okay, so we have 6: Buddhists, Jains, Christians, Parsis, Muslims and Sikhs. So these are the 6 notified minority community. For those we have Manzil Scheme. Youth not having a formal school leaving certificate, that means those who have dropped out of school or educated in community education institutes like madrasas, they will be benefited. And 30% of the seats here will be earmarked for girls and 5% for people with special abilities or disabilities, we see. Objective is to provide formal education. Okay, because that was informal and dropped out of school students do not have any formal education, and skills also, so that they can have worthy employment, right? A purpose of living life peacefully and economically stable. The scheme has been approved for how many years? This can be asked. 5 years. And 50% of the funding will be done from World Bank. Very important preliminary fact. I can replace World Bank with IMF, UNESCO or any other institute, but we have to remember it's World Bank. Okay. It's implemented by the project implementation agencies. The project implementation agencies are non-residential integrated education and skill training. They will provide this for 9 to 12 months. Okay, so skill will also be developed. Okay, let's move forward. The term minority. There are 2 minorities that we talk about here in India: linguistic and religious. But word minority has not been defined in the constitution. Okay, Muslims, Sikhs, Christian, Buddhists, Jains and Zoroastrians, that is Parsis, we have discussed this. They are minority communities, and under the National Commission for Minorities Act 1992, they are benefited by this particular commission. Now let's move about and talk about Roshni Scheme. What is Roshni Scheme? It is a central sector scheme. Okay, that means 100% funding is done by the central government. It's a leadership development program for minority women. It was started in the year 2012-2013. So year is important, central sector scheme is important, and what is it is important. The beneficiaries will be women, minority, and age group is important, 18 to 65. That also is remembered. Manzil Scheme, we had the age range of 17 to 35, right? Moving on. So it's a 6-day non-residential, 5-day residential training program. It's a hybrid program, you can say. Conducted by program implementing agencies. Specific agencies are built for this program implementing agencies. It runs with the help of NGOs, civil societies and government institutions all over the country. So who are the helpers here? NGOs, civil societies and governments. Okay, the government. Moving on, about the training program, it covers health and hygiene, legal rights of women, it's very comprehensive, financial literacy, digital literacy, Swachh Bharat, life skills and advocacy for social and behavioral changes. So if it is asked in your prelims examination about the features, remember these. Okay, write these down or take a screenshot. Moving on, let's talk about Vidyanjali 2.0 scheme. What is it? Now Vidyanjali 2.0 scheme, this portal was launched by the Prime Minister in 2021. Now it is like a platform of the country's resolve of Sabka Prayas. Okay, with Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and Sabka Vishwas. Vidyanjali is an initiative which has been undertaken by the Ministry of Education. Another important fact, it has been, if somebody asks in prelims, if prelims asks, what is the implementing agency of Vidyanjali? It's Ministry of Education. The scheme was launched in 2017. So Vidyanjali 2.0 portal 2.0 was launched recently, but if we talk about the scheme as a whole, it was launched in 2017. The focus is improvement of literacy by offering volunteer teachers in government schools. Now it aims to strengthen schools through community and private sector involvement. So private sector involvement is there and society as a whole, that means community is also involved. Moving on, now it's the initiative would connect schools with varied volunteers, namely whom? Young professionals, so that they understand what they aspire to become in the future. School alumni who have left the school and they share their experiences with the children. Retired teachers and government officials, everybody is involved here. Vidyanjali has two verticals, okay, like this, the departments basically. Participate in school service or activity and asset creation in which volunteers can support. So remember this is a good preliminary fact if it is asked. Moving on, UPSC prelims 2017, let's look at the question. What is the purpose of Vidyanjali Yojana? To enable the famous foreign education institutes to open their campuses in India? No. To increase the quality of education provided in the government school by taking help from private sector and community. Yes, we just read that. To encourage voluntary monetary contributions from private individuals and organizations so as to improve the infrastructure facility for primary and secondary school. No, only the second is correct. 2 only is the correct answer over here. Moving on, let's talk about faster system. What is it? Now, CGI, the Chief Justice of India, has launched a system that means fast and secure transmission of electronic records, which is a digital platform, and wants to send, what does it want to do? To make it efficient, to make the working efficient, it wants to send instantly the e-copies of orders of the Supreme Court to concerned authorities. So, paperless, environmentally sustainable and efficiency, everything is achieved. Orders may include execution orders, bail orders of under trial prisoners as well. And it is a secured electronic communication channel which is developed by whom? The Registry of the Supreme Court. Question could be asked here. In collaboration with National Informatics Center, so you have to remember the names of the developers as well. A very common question could be asked. It would aid the cause of quick and effortless justice and will ensure efficient implementation of Article 21, that is right to life. The more the efficient the justice is, the more the faith of the citizens will be in the justice system of the country. Now, there have been instances where the jail inmates are not released despite bail orders passed by the court due to delay in communication. And even one day, if somebody who is actually not a convict, if he or she passes their day in jails, it's not healthy for the judiciary environment. And earlier CGI launched an AI-based portal, Space, aimed at assisting judges with legal research, okay, so that they can effectively make justice prevail. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another episode. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.